Hello everybody, this is Jack Dennis and welcome to our fly fishing and tying channel. I hope you're all having a good start to the new year and out tying a lot of flies. Uh, we started a couple of weeks ago with our Jack Dennis and Friends fly tying session. Our first one was with Dave Allison, and I'm going to be showing you some from the past. One of the things I've been involved with my fly tying career is setting up fly tying theaters and been involved with the many conclaves that fly fishing groups and clubs have over the country. And they really highlight tyers that you may not have ever met. And one of the best ones is one in Idaho, both the Western Idaho Expo and the Eastern Idaho Expo, which is in Idaho Falls. They've been doing these fly tying get-togethers for a long time. We're talking over 30 years. So I want to do some highlights from some that I filmed in 2009 and 2010. And you'll get a chance to meet some names you know, and maybe some names you didn't know. And one of the nice things about tying at these expos is all the excitement and sounds of people going around telling lots and lots of fly fishing stories. Most of them may be exaggerated. But one of the nice things about the theater is you get a chance to listen to the tyers talk about their experiences and answer questions. I think you're going to enjoy them. We're going to start this week with several. We'll try to give you the most information. And I know some of you are going to say, wow, I don't know about the materials. Well, these are really uncut. So, you do your best on figuring it out. But I think you're going to enjoy the interaction with the crowd and with the tyers. And really uncut and I think extremely fun. Let's get going.
Okay, well,
I'll go back and get it up. You don't have to worry about it.
okay. All right, well, the next fly we'll do is a fly that came about also associated with the 1974 Second Fly Tyers Almanac. This is called a dun caddis, and it was one of my flies that also was introduced in that book. And this as a result of a gentleman who was named Ted Hebert, who was raising genetic roosters in Michigan, and he wanted to try an experiment, and that was to produce whole rooster skins. And as a result of that, we invented some new flies. A little more of that later. These are rooster body feathers they can be chicken body feathers, not saddle hackles, but feathers off the body of the bird. I've taken two of these body feathers and laid them on top of each other, in this case some gray ones, which makes a gorgeous little caddis. These are some that I've previously prepared. These are the two feathers that I was measuring just a moment ago, or like that. They've been put together and have a flexible head cement put on the two of them as they're together, so that they have an opportunity to dry with the two feathers together. Now, this entire fly came about, and it's a very nice caddis imitation, came about as a result of attempting to use all the feathers on a complete rooster skin, from the very top of the rooster's head to the very tip of his tail. So for the body of this, this was the task we were given, and in the Second Fly Tyers Almanac there was a diagram of a rooster skin with more than 20 applications for the different feathers. The body of this fly was very simple, and it used the wing quills from that rooster, just a slip of feather fibers. I don't happen to have one of those those feathers right now, so you can use any long fibered feather. In this case, this is a is a turkey tail feather. It gives a nice modeling, and a lot of caddis dry flies have a nice mottled body on them, so it makes a very, very nice. We wrap this for the body. Makes a slim body. What I haven't done here is I haven't reinforced it. It's not an extremely strong feather, so I commonly will reinforce it with a reverse wrap of monofilament. Takes up, doesn't shine, doesn't add any weight, and makes it an extremely durable fly. It's a simple little fly. At this point, we take the feathers that I prepared, those two body feathers that I glued together and given time to dry. They are set right on top of the hook, and see, the point of that feather is all the way to the eye of the hook. I wrap the thread over it, and it kind of cups that feather around the hook. It helps to trap a little air, gives it some buoyancy, and makes it an extremely good low-profile caddis. It has worked extremely well as a spent caddis. And the next thing that we do is we take a single hackle feather. In this case, since I have a nice little gray fly, we'll take a dun hackle feather, and you take one feather. And since I'm only using one feather and I don't really have a lot of room for hackle, this is not designed to be a heavy, rough water dry fly like a wolf or a humpy. So I'm going to oversize the feather. This is a size 14 hook. We'll use a feather that would be probably appropriate for a size 12, maybe for a size 13 hook, but oversized for a size 14. So it's going to be at least 2 gaps of the hook shank. It's tied in, wrapped as a dry fly hackle with the concave side facing forwards. If the feather's long enough, you don't need your hackle pliers, but we'll put some hackle pliers on here. And get about 4 wraps, maybe 5 wraps of hackle all the way to the front. If I raise the feather when I tie it off to above the eye of the hook, when I trim this, there will be no hackle fibers sticking in the eye of the hook. I will trim them off with the feather stem. Looks like I need to sharpen my scissors, which I'll take care of another day. But we got those all taken care of, trimmed off, and now since I used 2 feathers, I used those bare feather stems for the long antenna, represent the long antenna on our caddis fly. And it's one of the very interesting things. Lots and lots of our caddis have quite long antennae, particularly spent caddis. The biggest drawback of this fly, and probably one reason it's never become extremely popular, is that it is very difficult to see. It lays low in the water, and it's very effective, but it's not a fly for everyone as far as fishing it, because it is not an extremely easy fly to see. A number of years ago I did this for a couple gentlemen at a sports show in Denver. And the next year, even though they had nothing else to see or do at the sports show, they came back the next year to thank me for showing them this fly. It had been their most effective caddis pattern for their previous year. It is that effective a fly. Again, its trouble is it isn't very visible. To make this a spent caddis, I trim the hackle off even with the hook point on the bottom. If I want to have this be more of a caddis emerger or a dry caddis, you leave the hackle full and it floats higher. If you trim that off, it becomes a low-riding spent caddis, and that was what it was originally designed as, and is where it seems to be the most effective in my fishing experience. And it's been just a wonderful fly. It just, because it isn't visible, has not become extremely popular, but a great fly to go fish with. and you trim it flat off on the bottom so that it set it out so it's nice and flat on the, it'll sit nice and level and flat on the countertop and low and level. It works out very nicely. It's an extremely